So most people think hospitality is about perfection, right? If you really want to instill hospitality into your restaurant or even into your business, I'm going to let you know a little secret that most people overlook when they're trying to instill hospitality or systems and training, right? So first things first, like I said, people think hospitality is about perfection, perfect service, perfect food, the perfect polished silverware. But hospitality can't be looked at as perfection. It can't be looked at as a script. It can't even be looked at as a style. Hospitality is simply connection. And that's not just connection, but it's genuine connection with care. That's the secret sauce. I'm gonna explain to you why. Now I wanna use an example, Will Guidara. Now, Will Guidara took the 11 Madison Park restaurant and made it into something amazing, the most critically and financially successful restaurant ever, arguably. But the wild part is when I use 11 Madison Square as an example, when I can show you how they took it to the next level, whether you've read Unreasonable Hospitality, whether you've read about 11 Madison Park, or whether you've been there, I'm gonna tell you exactly what changed it, what made it different. And it's really simple. It wasn't amazing food. It wasn't even necessarily the service, but it was simply a $2 hot dog. Now, a lot of people have heard this story, but I wanna go a little bit deeper into why that worked and why you can use that ideology in your restaurant or your business to really instill hospitality in your staff. And I'm not talking about copying and pasting, right? We all know the story. A lot of people know the story, which I'm gonna get to, but we're not talking about taking that story and applying it to your restaurant, right? We're talking about the idea of it, what went behind it, the why of it is what really makes it different and makes it make sense. And I'm gonna start with this. So first of all, for those of you who don't know the story, I'm gonna set the scene for you. So Will Guidara's out on the floor, helping his team out, as usual, great leadership. There was a table of 4 guests, and there were 4 friends sitting at a table, and they're eating their final meal together before heading to the airport, right? They haven't seen each other for a very long time. Will's working the floor, and he overhears them talking about how they went to all the best spots in New York, per se. Now 11 Madison, right? They're really bragging about this, and it was a big highlight of their trip. And then he overhears one of them say, the only thing we didn't get to experience was a true New York hot dog. And instantly something hit him, right? He knew deep down inside exactly what he needed to do, and he went off to the races. He walks into the kitchen, drops off the plates he had in his hand, and literally goes through the front door and sprints off to the nearest hot dog vendor. Buys a hot dog, goes back to 11 Madison Square, and then he has to convince the head chef of one of the most elegant dining experiences in the world to serve this hot dog. So the chef's looking at him, he's like, are you freaking crazy? I'm not doing that, right? For a litany of reasons, you can say, absolutely not. It's not meeting my standards. It's not what we do, X, Y, and Z, but he has to convince the chef to do it. So Will just says, please, trust me. So the chef finally agrees, but he says, I have to make it look like fine dining food. We can't just send a hot dog out on the floor. Obviously, Will agrees. They chop up the hot dog into 4. They put some fancy designs around it, make it look nice and pretty, and they send it on its way. Right before they send this honey lavender duck that took 2 weeks to perfect, they send out this hot dog course. Will walks up to the table with this hot dog dish, gets their attention, says, before you leave New York, I want to make sure you try every culinary experience that you can. And he presented them with a New York City hot dog. And so the guests absolutely lost it. They get their phones out, they're taking pictures, they're laughing, they're getting emotional, right? So you struck an emotional chord. You have a group of people who are together in a very special experience. And now Will has managed to make it even more special, right? Anything they serve at that table will never be remembered as much as that hot dog. That hot dog is going to be of legend to them. They're going to tell everybody about it. In fact, I'm telling you about it right now. This story has become infamous, and that's the power of hospitality. That's a true transformation of hospitality. Hospitality can travel through states, travel through people, travel through generations, right? It can travel through books, travel through stories. It has a huge impact on it, but we have to make sure we're looking at hospitality the right way. That $2 hot dog experience changed everything for Will, and that's why Will is so successful. And I always try and get the message across to restaurant managers or any type of manager in leadership at all. You have unlimited ability, and I truly mean that, right? Take Will Guidara, for example. He started off in a hole-in-the-wall restaurant, manager there, and worked his way up. How did he do it? He was always trying to give the guest the best experience possible. He was always trying to make the best decisions for the business, which is giving the guest the best experience possible in any restaurant he worked at. He was always trying to up-level things, and sometimes they'd work and sometimes they wouldn't. He was always trying to elevate, to take places to the next level by being creative through hospitality. And so he's moved from restaurant to restaurant where more and more people trust him, like Danny Meyer, who eventually trusted him with 11 Madison Square, which he took over and made it one of the most critically and financially successful restaurants ever to exist. That's not where it ends for Will, because Will wrote Unreasonable Hospitality. He does talking gigs. He charges up to $100,000 just for a 45-minute presentation. He sold millions of of books. He is literally making millions of dollars. And he started off as a restaurant manager. Leadership has no limits. The only limits are up here. And we need to explain that to our leadership team. But I'm gonna get back to the point here. So with that $2 hot dog, it changed everything for Will. Because Will realized something out of all of his success he'd already seen, out of all the innovation he had created. He realized that none of it matters without human connection. You have the best food in the world. You can have the best ambiance in the world. You can have a 16, 20, 30, $40 million buyout. But all of that doesn't matter if your team is not making a human connection with the guest. Restaurants are about people. They're about making people feel seen, heard, and valued. Just like you, when you go into a restaurant and you spend your hard-earned money to go eat, you want to feel valued. You go to any business that you spend your money with, you want to feel valued. You don't want to feel like a number. There's nothing worse than feeling like a number. The power of a restaurant, though, is that you have the ability, every single guest, to make sure that they feel valued. But it's all about the human connection. So this moment became his new guiding principle, his unreasonable hospitality moment, epiphany. It's the idea that when you go beyond what's expected, you turn an ordinary interaction into something extraordinary. What's really important is you got to think about it this way. We want to exceed expectations when they least expect it. For example, if your significant other gives you a gift on your birthday, are you happy? Of course you are. Thank you. That means a lot. I appreciate that. But you better freaking give me that gift, right? You're my significant other. I'm expecting you to give me a birthday gift on my birthday. But if you have a hard day at work and you're having a really hard week and you're just feeling it, you're going through it, and you go home and it's a random Wednesday and your significant other sitting at the table and they push a gift over to you. You look down. What is that? It's just a little gift to let you know that everything's going to be okay and that I love you. That gift will have a significantly bigger impact on you versus the birthday gift. Why? Because someone showed that they cared by exceeding your expectations when you least expected it. You weren't expecting it. So if we want to deconstruct the $2 hot dog story, I want to give you a couple of lessons to extract. Lesson number one is be present. A recent study showed that 43% of the time, people aren't paying attention during the present moment. Something could happen, a car crash could happen. They're not paying attention because they're distracted. They're thinking about other things, or they're on their phone, whatever it is, they're completely distracted. And because he was present on the floor, not just standing around checking boxes, walking around checking boxes, being aloof, he was present, paying attention to the most important thing in the restaurant, which is the guest. Why are we not obsessed with paying attention to guests day in and day out? Why is that not our number one focus? We should be obsessed with them, paying attention to them, and that's what he was doing. And he was able to hear that hot dog moment to change everything for that table and for himself. And that's what most teams miss. They're not listening. Even when they're at the table talking to the guests, they're still not listening for moments to exceed their expectations when they least expect it. They're not paying attention. Oh, it's your anniversary, congratulations. Here's 2 glasses of champagne, enjoy, yeah, nice little gift, right? Basic. Do you want your restaurant to be basic or do you want it to be elevated, right? That's basic. We want to go elevated. We want to listen for cues at any moment to where we can exceed their expectations when we least expect it, but that doesn't fall in our laps. Just like the hot dog didn't fall in our laps. He wasn't like, I'm gonna bring some random people a hot dog and see if it works out. No, he was listening and he got his moment to go in and get the win. So slow down, pay attention when you're at your tables. Pay attention when you're not at your tables. Pay attention to the guest. Just because you're serving them doesn't mean they're the only guest. You have other guests in the restaurant, and everybody's guest should be everybody's guest. We should be listening constantly for wins. Or if you're at a computer and you're sitting next to a table that's not yours, you should be listening for wins. And then if you can tell another server, hey, I just heard table 41 is celebrating their anniversary. It happened a month ago, but they're celebrating it for the first time because they're busy with work. Let's go bring them something out. So then they can go out and say, here's something for your anniversary. And they're gonna be like, how did you know it was our anniversary, right? Listening for wins, very, very big. Lesson number 2, take what you do seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. Now, this is an important one. Serving a street hot dog in a fine dining restaurant is totally absurd on paper, because ultimately hospitality isn't about flexing how good you are, right? How perfect you are, how polished you are, how you won't allow certain things to happen in the restaurant, right? No, hospitality is about showing how much you care. That's true luxury hospitality. If you're at the Ritz-Carlton, you call the front desk and you ask them for something and they take really good care of you, that's the mission, that's the goal. I was at the Marina Bay Sands and I asked them to print a single piece of paper for me. And they asked me if I wanted it delivered to the room. I said, nope, I'll go downstairs and get it. I'm on my way out. When I came out, I had a single piece of paper. I went to the front right away. They knew my name. You must be Mr. Lee. Yes, let me grab your copy for you. It was in a manila envelope with Marina Bay stamped on it. Mr. Lee stamped on it. Was there anything else I can get for you, sir? that was care, right? That was true care that they showed me. That the manila envelope wasn't the secret sauce. It was the care that they did to put into that delivery just to give me one single piece of paper. Lesson number 3, one size fits one. Hospitality is not a script, it's a moment. And no two moments are the same. So let's just say Will Guidara had comped them a bottle of champagne, or you overheard they were talking about how good of friends they are and they're about to go back on their trip, or a server came up to him and said, I have some really old friends that are visiting. It's their last day in New York before they see each other for a very long time. They get this trip only in a couple of years. Could we do something special? Giving them a bottle of champagne and comping it, very nice, thank you, that was very thoughtful of you, but not wow, right? Not a big win. But the hot dog story, huge win. That is going to live with them for the rest of their lives. Like I've said, that story is going to be infamous. The bottle of champagne is not specific to them. It's not specific to their part, their story, right? But the hot dog was, and the hot dog touched them. The whole point is hospitality only works if it's personal. That's all it's about, genuine personal care. So what do we do with those 3 lessons? We take those 3 lessons and we build them into our culture. So after that, Will built his entire culture around unreasonable hospitality. He really wanted to focus on those moments. How do we get more of those moments, more of those $2 hot dog moments? He literally created a job called the Dream Weaver. Their only job was to help the staff bring creative ideas to life. So if they had a really good idea on how to wow a guest, how do we bring that to life? Just like, how did Will bring it to life? He literally ran out the door, ran across the street, almost down a block, went to the first hot dog vendor, bought a hot dog, ran it back, put it on a plate, made it fancy. He had a story. How do we do those things? We can't have servers running around across the street, down blocks to get hot dogs all day or buy certain things. So how do we have that person get creative and help them bring those things to life? For example, they would turn a canceled beach trip into a little beach stay in the restaurant with folding chairs and Mai Tais and a whole vibe and design. They sent a family who had never seen snow to Central Park in the middle of the night after their meal so they can be pushed down a little hill with sleds, right? Their whole entire family with some of their staff. They basically were able to take strangers who were guests and turn them into storytellers. Now, these aren't just stories of like, yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah, they're really nice there. No, they had freaking stories that were gonna blow people's minds. You're getting people's attention and it's living in their head, and now the mission they have, I wanna go visit that restaurant. So this is how you build that culture of hospitality. It's not about talking about hospitality, by giving it a formula, right? Say these words, say this, not that. I'm gonna have a guy come in and talk to you about what you would say and what you don't say, right? He's been a trainer for X amount of years and he's gonna show you how to do things the right way, right? That's not gonna resonate with anybody. Hospitality is truly creativity and human connection. If we can get them to get creative, get them to care about that human connection, then we will unlock true hospitality because it'll give them a why versus a what versus a how, right? We're gonna give them a why. Why are we doing this? You wanna see them see the payoff. You wanna see them do the work and get the payoff. So we wanna start by not preaching it, but by living it through hospitality. So look, I'm gonna say this right now, this applies everywhere because this isn't about 11 Madison Square who has this huge budget so they can do these things, but that's not what this is about. You don't have to be a fine dining restaurant to do this. We've done this with QSR, we're doing this with burger and beer joints. We've done this with buffalo wing joints. We've done this with pizza places, right? It's not about spending money, it's comping things. It's about paying attention, giving effort, giving focus, right? Giving care. That's what it's truly about, to give hospitality. All of those things apply because it's not about, again, the money, it's about the care and the attention. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper into the why, but first of all, I want to tell you the simplest way to set this up and to start building this into the culture of your restaurant. It's called the 5 phases. And the first part is advanced leadership. Your leadership has to be dialed in. The second part is high-level systems. You have to have structure to give to your staff in order for them to succeed at a high level. Third, you have to have dynamic training. Your training has to be robust enough, simple training, but robust enough for them to have the tools to be able to succeed. Fourth, you have to have follow-up mastery, which means I trained you how to do something, I give you the systems to follow, and now as an advanced leadership team, I have to follow up to make sure those things are getting done. I have to consistently follow up, not just hope that you're doing them. That makes no sense. And lastly, you have to have accountability. Accountability is where we take the data from the follow-up and decide, do we need to hold them accountable or do we need to give them recognition and give them credit where credit's due? Now that sounds overly complicated, it's not, and I'm actually hosting a live webinar where I'm gonna show you how to do this. It's 1 hour and it's absolutely free. If you're interested, I'm gonna put a link down in the description. So look, so what's the takeaway here? We need to give hospitality in our restaurants. If you want to succeed in your restaurant, if you want to succeed in any business, you have to give hospitality at a high level. Bottom line, period. And that's not theory, that's fact. I want you to look at some of the big players, right? I want you to look at Chick-fil-A, who has now 45% of the market share. They're doing $25 billion a year. Less than 25 years ago, they're doing $1 billion a year. They're growing so fast and so rapidly and with such a good reputation that it's scary for their competition. Now, is Chick-fil-A the cheapest? Is Chick-fil-A the best? No, to both, right? But Chick-fil-A does have one thing for it, and there's only one thing that explains their success, and that is hospitality. And they do those numbers, by the way, still closed on Sundays. So they do it 6 days out of the week. Let's look at another big player, Din Tai Fung, right? $26 million per location in the United States. 26 million per location. We're talking no more than 300 seats sometimes. We're talking about 250 seats sometimes. How do they do those numbers? They have lines out the doors. They don't even take reservations. Do they have the best dumplings or the best food? No, and people know that. Right? Do they have the best build-out and atmospheres? If you ever go into Din Tai Fung, they're clean, they're sterile, but they're nothing special. So what is it? Why is Din Tai Fung doing so freaking well? Because they have hospitality, systems, leadership, training, which equals consistency, which equals trust. People will always go back to the places that they trust more than any other place. They'll pick the more desired food, they'll pick more desired ambiance, over trust. The Din Tai Fung by my house, the parking is atrocious. It's so bad. You have to park sometimes so far away, or you have to circle around no matter what time of the day it is, yet people will still wait in line to eat there. Why? Because of trust. Hospitality consistently across the board. Their food is consistent across the board. So what do we want to take away from this? Let's build hospitality in our restaurant. And we got to build hospitality in a restaurant by having advanced leadership, systems, training, all that good stuff. And when we're teaching hospitality, we're teaching the why, not the how or the what. Everybody knows how to deliver hospitality, whether you like to believe it or not, right? I have another video where you can ask your staff 2 questions and they will literally tell you how they have given elevated hospitality in their life in real time. Doesn't matter if they're 16 or 50 years old, you get the same answers almost every single time, and they show you that they know exactly what hospitality is, exactly why they did it, exactly their motivation behind it. When you're able to connect those dots, you give them a why you're giving the hospitality, and you give them the how without ever telling them how, because you've connected the dots in their head. Now they know what hospitality is because they've delivered it in their own life and they've seen the results and they know their motivations, and now everything turns on like a light switch. But we have to give them that information. We have to give them the leadership, the systems, and the training. It's so important. So start building the infrastructure to give hospitality at an elevated level and see your restaurant and your brand go to new heights that you didn't even think were imaginable.